Hi, my name is Kayle Comer, and I recently just concluded a research study with my three other partners. And in this study, we measured hamstring flexibility among collegiate athletes, more specifically to soccer and basketball male and female athletes. We had a total of 37 participants in this study, and none of these participants had any lower body extremity injuries within the past 6 months. During this study, one athlete was brought in at a time and they were asked to fill out a questionnaire. They went through a dynamic warm up and then they came to get stretched by me and another partner. And we did a passive stretch with the hamstring and then used a goniometer to measure the flexibility and recorded the data. By their participation, it allowed them to determine if their flexibility was good, bad, and if they needed to work on it, and it also helped make our study successful. After we concluded our study, we were asked a few questions, and the first question being, if I'm a strength and conditioning coach for men and women's sports teams at Franklin College, why is this study important to me? I said that this study allows a coach to see if flexibility is greater among female or males, and if it's greater among specific sports. And in this study, it would be basketball and soccer. We were asked another question. Did you control for how warm the muscles were before testing? And does this matter among the muscle standpoint? Why or why not? Well, we had the athletes go through a dynamic warm up, so that was the same across the board for all 37 athletes. But we did not tell the athletes prior to not exercise, so some of these athletes either were just working out on their own or they came from practice, so that affected the warmth of their muscles. And yes, it does matter from a muscle standpoint because if a muscle is more warmed up, then maybe a person who hadn't exercised before, the person who had exercised prior and their muscle was more warm would have a more greater hamstring flexibility than those who didn't. Our third question that we were asked was, how experienced were your subjects with stretching in general, and why would that matter? Well, in our questionnaire, we never asked the level of experience with stretching. We only asked how often they stretched. We kind of assumed that athletes were pretty experienced with stretching since they were in college and they've been playing a sport most of their life. This matters overall because a person who stretches regularly will be more flexible than those who don't, and so that could skew our data a little bit. Our last question that we were asked was, if you have to run this study again, would you do anything different? Why or why not? By going over our study and looking back at it, there are many things that we probably would do different. The first thing being, we would probably make this study longer. Instead of having the athlete come in for just one session and taking their hamstring flexibility 3 times and averaging that, we would have them come in maybe 3 different sessions, and we would test their hamstring flexibility each time to see if it's changed at all, and it might give us a more accurate number. Another thing that we would change, we would try to test the athletes when they're either all in season or all out of season. So with our study, we tested soccer while they were in season and basketball while they were out. And so this may have affected our data a little bit, but the only problem being if we would have waited for each team to be in or out of season, it would have made our study a lot longer. And the last thing that we would have changed and controlled would be for athletes not to work out before they came to our study, because it did warm their muscles up, and so it gave them more of an advantage than the people who had not worked out. Overall, this was an awesome study, and there isn't much research done on hamstring flexibility among collegiate athletes. So we hope to help coaches and other researchers, and hope that this information really helps them among their research and data collection. Thanks.